Hey everybody, Jacob here with Two Vets Outdoors. Today we are going to make some arrows. I have ordered my Cold Tip Kinetic Fierce Platinums off Lancaster Archery, and I got them blank, so we are going to cut them down, and we are going to install the half-out inserts, ballistic collars, and tips. Then we are going to fletch them. We're going to do a wrap and 3 hay hybrid fletches. So my goal is I want around like a 510 grain arrow. So I will show you the process that I go through when I build my arrows. First thing is I know what I want my measurement from nock valley to the end of the carbon. The ballistic collar adds some, so they're a lot shorter than, let's say, when I make my my Maxima Reds. So I have a 31.5-inch draw, but I cut these down to like 29 3/4 with the carbon. So it puts my tip right at the edge of my riser, gives me plenty of clearance for fixed blade broadheads, so works out pretty good. But these are like my hunting arrows. They shoot the same arrows at tack, so I know a lot of people shoot a lighter, faster arrow attack, but I try to use same hunt setup. So I'll show you my Weston arrow saw. Got it set up. So set up right there, and I'll show you how I cut the first arrow. So what I do for my first arrow, or every arrow, stick it in there, and before I go to cut it, I make sure everything's clear, nothing in the way of the blade. But when you go to cut it, I put it in and I spin it so that you got a good even cut around. So we'll start cutting. So with that, I have a nice even cut all the way around. As you guys can see, it's nice, clean. So we'll cut the other 11. Alright, so now all my arrows are cut. I sand them up. Make sure there's no, all the tips are pretty straight. There's no burrs. If there are, I have a stone tool you can clean them up with, but these really clean. So I have the 8,000 RPM Weston arrow saw, and it puts down a real clean cut every single time. So I haven't had any problems so far. So we are now going to start gluing tips. So let's come over here to my old cabinet. So I have all of my supplies stacked up in there. So we are going to dozen ballistic collars, dozen tips, count out, dozen 125 grain broadhead field tips. 1, 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That I use a Max Impact. And know a lot of people use like the hot stick. I just use maximum impact. I mean, they're a little harder to get apart if you want to take them apart, but I don't really plan on having to take them apart, I guess. And the few times I've done these like ballistic collars with the hot melt, it's just real difficult to get that hot melt down inside that little hole. So I'll just do it this way. So we'll get it all set up and show you installing the ballistic collar and half out insert. Alright, so I'm all set up. So I have my half out inserts, ballistic collars, field tips, arrows, a max impact, arrow building, pretty much everything, rag to clean up excess, because it does get, I mean, you'll have a little stuff escape, so it's always good to have a little rag to clean. So we'll build some arrows. So first, take one arrow, little max impact. And what I do, whether some people might do a little different, there's like these flat grooves. That's where I put my first little dabs of glue. And then I just kind of spread it around with the tip of my, wipe it off, put that in, down it goes, clean that excess off, make sure it's all nice and clean. Take a half out, take my ballistic collar, put a little bit of glue in on the inside, put that on, give her a push, make sure she's seated all the way. Looks like we got it. Sometimes tap, make sure she's in there all the way. Clean that excess glue off. Install my field tip, make sure everything's nice and tight. Then I give it about 24, 48 hours. I know it says dries real quick, but I'd rather give it that little bit of extra time. So real quickly, I'm gonna build the other 11 and we'll get to fletching it. Well, just like that, we have a dozen arrows cut, half out inserts glued, ballistic collars glued, field tips installed. So now we will get to fletching them. I'm gonna get everything set up and I'll see you in a bit. All right, so got everything set up for fletching my arrows. So I use a little mat got from Black Ovis, which shows the line for putting down your wraps, which we are going to be using these wraps today. 3 black A hybrid fletches. Arizona Easy Fletch. Right helical. And I got my glue, primer pen, clean wipes. So we will fletch some arrows. First thing I do when I fletch my arrow, get me a cleaning cloth. And I just clean them all. So that, I mean, they've never had fletches on them or nothing on them, but we just go in whatever little oils or, I think I've noticed it does help the wrap hold on a little bit better. All right, that's all done and cleaned up. All clean. So the part that I think I struggle with the most on building my arrows is this part. So you want to put your wrap down. That being said, they're like real sticky, so at times I have a little bit of a harder time getting that thing to stick, not to my fingers, and just being able to lay it down perfectly on these little lines. Oh, that one actually worked out pretty good. So then I line my knot collar a little bit off the edge, kind of square it up, and then just give it a nice roll. Then you have a perfectly wrapped arrow. So then give a little pressure on that seam. All done. So I'll just fletch this one real quick. So this Arizona Easy Fletch. And I really like this one. I'm a helical fan, and these ones this Arizona Easy Fletch puts a real nice looking helical on it. Pretty extreme helical, but it looks pretty sweet. So this is just a primer pin. Make sure I clean with this primer pin where we're going to dab glue. Making sure they're nice and clean. I don't think there's probably anything on those, but just in case. So what I do, just a little dab of glue right here on the tip, and then about every 1/4 inch I'll do a little dab. sure. And then I take my glue tip and just kind of spread that around. Then do that on all three. Take your arrow down inside, then you just push up and let her close. Then you have this little lock ring. Put that on there, give a little push, and then I wait a few minutes, let those seat on there. Usually while I'm waiting, I just put the next wrap on, and usually by the time that next wrap's on, the that arrow's usually ready to come off of the out of the thing. But so we'll just have a little peek at, see if I hit my grain. I'm looking for around 510. I think the dozen I'm shooting right now, they're like, it ranges somewhere from like 509.3 to 510.6. So I can deal with that. So I'll go ahead and pull this out of the arrow jig. And we have, look at that helical though. I mean, it puts a helical on there. Turned out real good, real nice. And then we will do a little measure. We're a little lighter. I don't know if you can see that, but it says 505. But we'll measure out the whole dozen. But I'm just gonna repeat that process, a dozen times, and at the end of it, we'll have us a dozen arrows made up. So we'll see you shortly. Get all these made up and then show you the whole dozen. All right, so arrows are built. I did 6. I'm gonna save the other 6. I got some new wraps coming, and I'm pretty excited about using them. So I'm gonna use those other 6 wraps when they get here. But I measured them all. They're all less than 1 grain apart, so about 505, 506. So should be all right though. But I hope you guys enjoy the video. Go and jump all over that like and subscribe button, and we'll have more comment coming your way. All right, appreciate y'all. Thank you.